Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Armavir in Armenia. First of all, though, there is a huge storm outside. The wind just picked up, so if you hear any wind sounds or my neighbor's wind chime, that's what that is. Second, if at any point you notice the gashes all over my left hand, I apologize. I had a bad encounter with a can of refried beans, and it's healed up for the most part. Still hurts a lot, but that's what that is. If you notice, if I flip my hand for any reason, you're like, oh my gosh, what happened? It was a can of refried beans. But anyway, moving on. Armavir is situated in this western corner of Armenia. It's actually the smallest province in Armenia. You can see that it borders Turkey. I believe it borders Kars in Turkey. The city or the province is named after the city Armavir, but the largest city is Vagarshapad right here. And if you see this is Zvartnots Airport, which is the main airport that services Yerevan, the capital city. It looks like it's very far away, but Yerevan is a big city, so it's the main airport for the capital city. Geography-wise, there's not much to say about Armavir province. It's quite flat, definitely compared to other parts of Armenia, and it's mostly farmland. It is part of the Ararat Plain. Mount Ararat is not terribly far from here. It's a big old volcano that slopes down. So I assume it's that sloping, fertile plain that you get at the bottom of big volcanoes. I think that's about it for geography. There really isn't much to say. It's flat farmland. But you would think this tiny little province may not be very important to Armenia, but in fact it's probably the most important province in the history of Armenia. So let's get into why that is. Of course, being this region of the world in the Caucasus, it's been inhabited for a very, very, very long time, and many ancient settlements would have lived in this province. The most earliest notable one would be the Urartu kingdom. And eventually, as the Armenian culture began to take form, so did many of the ancient towns here. Armavir was founded by the grandson of Haik, who is like the biggest Armenian hero in a way, pretty much created the Armenian heartland culture and all of that. And many other towns would spring up. Vagarshapad, if you're wondering why it's named that, was named after the king who founded it, King Vagarsh, which is founded in the 1st century CE. Eventually, the Orontid dynasty would control the area, who was one of the first real, Armenian kingdoms. And soon Christianity would find its way to Armenia by way of Gregory the Illuminator. And I talked about his story in our last province here, Ararat. But it was over here, in what's now Vagarshapad, where he founded the first Armenian church in the year 301, probably, maybe 302. And that is Etchmiadzin Cathedral. And it's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So why don't I grab my tablet right over here and we'll read its little blurb there from UNESCO. So the property here is Etchmiadzin and also the archaeological site of Zvartnots, which we'll talk about next. But let's read about the site in general. It says, the cathedral and churches of Etchmiadzin and the archaeological remains of Svartnots graphically illustrate the evolution and development of the Armenian central domed cross-half type of church, which exerted a profound influence on architectural and artistic development in the region. And in a very rare case, the pictures on UNESCO are actually better than the pictures on Google Earth. So let's take a moment to really look at these. Oops, great photos here. This is Etchmiadzin Cathedral here. It is the world's oldest cathedral. You can see the beautiful interior here. The gorgeous dome, mosaic tiles. And it is very, very typical of Armenian church architecture with this big conical domed roof on top. Kind of like how Orthodox churches have onion domes. Armenian churches have these big cones. Very like square-shaped bottoms and big cones on top. Look at the details there. It's very, very beautiful. There's the altar. I don't know much about Armenian Christianity, but can tell that the altar space is very important, kind of like Catholicism, right? You have that center altar space. Very gorgeous. Now you can see over here we have the ruins of Svartnots. Over here too, it actually has some really good pictures on Google Earth, so I'll show you those after we talk about the history. Svartnots was built in the year 643. It's just outside what's now Fagarshabat. And it was also a religious center. The big church area there was dedicated to Gregory the Illuminator. And it lasted until the year 963 when it was destroyed, and we're not quite sure how it was destroyed. It was either an earthquake or it was from the Arabs invading. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself because this region before that was conquered by the Romans. The Armenians would take it back, but then the Arabs would come and assert dominance over the region. Armenian Christianity would hold out, though, as it always has in this area. The world's oldest Christian nation. Eventually, that influence turned into rule by Persia, which is now Iran, which is literally, that's Iran right there. Not too far away. There were some moments where the Ottomans took hold, but for the most part, this area was under Persian influence in the various Persian dynasties that ruled throughout the years. Until the year 1828, after the Russo-Persian War, I believe. A big war, obviously, between Russia, which is not too far north, and Persia over who got to control what in the Caucasus. And after the Treaty of Turkmenshay in 1828, this area came under the control of Russia. It remained for quite a while until 1918. But before we talk about that, like I said, Etchmiadzin is still a very important cathedral to Armenians and the Armenian Christians, right? So when the Armenian genocide, I say that briefly just so I don't get demonetized, was happening over in Turkey, many Armenians fled to Etchmiadzin and this region, this town, just to seek refuge and pray at their holiest church. So a huge influx of Armenians coming over the border into this region specifically. But Armenia would declare its independence in 1918, since the Russian Empire had collapsed during the Bolshevik Revolution. After some battles with Turkey, which I didn't read about any that happened here, but they were all very nearby. They asserted their independence until 1920 when the Soviets came and reconquered everything. And this area really started to spring up because, like I said, it's pretty much entirely farmland. So the Soviets, they loved farmland. They needed as much farmland as possible. So they came in and they developed many of the cities that you see here, including Armavir here, creating, an industry or two centered in the town. You build houses around that for the workers, you build schools for their children, so on and so forth. You get a town centered around an industry, and here, of course, it was all agriculture based, since it's all farmland. And the area really became what it is today due to that Soviet reconstruction. Armenia would gain its independence, though, after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. And pretty much that's where we are today. This is a very quiet corner of Armenia. It's only really over here where anything happens, because you have this major, pretty much like almost a suburb of Yerevan, the airport, and all of the holy sites in this area. So let me dim the lights to grab my tablet over here again, and we're going to take a look at this place on Google Earth. There's not much to see, but I gotta show you all of the highlights, so let's get into it. Alright, here you can see Armavir province highlighted in red. I'm going to zoom out first so you can see exactly where we are in the world. If you're not quite sure where the Caucasus region is, got a pencil here still. We've got Asia, we've got Europe, we've got the Middle East, and in between all of that is the Caucasus region. We also have Anatolia over here, which is pretty much just Turkey. But the Caucasus is this mountain range right here between the Black and Caspian Seas that sort of connects all of these worlds together in more ways than one, culturally, literally, geographically, etc., etc. So here we have Armavir. Why don't we start off with this slideshow? I don't remember if there's good pictures here in the slideshow. Let's see. Big bustling city there. There's the cathedral. They have very Soviet-style block buildings there. Brutalist style, right? Not quite brutalist, but close enough. Beautiful crosses here. I wonder if these are grave markings or something. It's really pretty. Little cobblestone cottage. And a beautiful cathedral. All lit up at night. Look at these. Some kind of little stone pillars there. The beautiful mountains in the background there. And yeah, there's lots and lots of little memorials and museums around the cathedral. This one's neat because you can see an Armenian Christian priest there and a king holding hands between the cross there. Why don't I show you this area? Let's head over. So also you can see up here all of the lush green farmland of the province. And there's, you can see from above, Vagarshpat, all big and bustling. And here's Yerevan, right? Big major capital city. We head into Vagarshpat and you can see the cathedral complex here. There's the cathedral, which again, not great pictures of Etchmiadzin Cathedral. They're mostly exterior shots and shots of all of the monuments and museum spaces around it, which is really neat. But I'd rather see pictures inside, nice framed shot there. Very interesting big public space. Look at these, though. That's really interesting. But yeah. Some tombs there. And there's the altar space. You can see, look at all of the smoke from the candles that's burned above it. So yeah, I really want like a big shot of like the main worship area, but there's no pictures of that, sadly. But I suppose lots of interesting exterior shots. There's the altar space. Again, I don't know a lot about Armenian Christianity, so I don't even know if that's what they call it or what all of this is called. If anyone wants to enlighten us, like I assume that's Gregory there, let us know in the comments. It would be interesting to know. Around here are lots of museums. I'm trying to think of what the best one would be to show you. I think there was a historical one over here, an ethnographic museum, of which me had seen lots of old artifacts. A big pit of some kind, maybe it's a bath. Lots of old devices there. Definitely not a real body reconstruction of what they had dug up. Lots of pottery and things from much, much, much older times. Looks like a face. I bet it was. Really interesting. A typical table setting maybe, or an altar space. Some clothing. Beautiful church artwork. Old photographs. Lots of old tools as well. So just outside here we have, I have to remember where it is. Is it over here? Over here. The ruins of Svartnats. Can you see the old buildings here in this circular kind of temple area? I guess nothing's popping up, so I have to type it in myself to show you the pictures. I think this is it. Boom. Really, really incredible how much has been preserved here. Old reconstruction there. Looks like some kind of maybe time-telling piece. Oh wow, let's see what it used to look like. Beautiful, huge columns there. Just a really magnificent archaeological site. Look at all the cuneiform here on this tablet. That's amazing. All the grape leaves here. It's so pretty. Svartnats type monuments. I guess all the different ones found in Armenia, the surrounding areas from that time. Really incredible archaeological space. Look, I can see the man here. Looks like he's holding a shovel. It's very beautiful. This would be a fun place to walk around and experience. That's a really neat picture of it. Yeah, it's almost Romanesque, right? I mean, Rome was thriving at that time, so it makes sense, but really, really beautiful. Here's another historical museum. There's the exterior. Some more of these stone pillars here. Another reconstruction, clearly. Don't worry, that can't be real. They're showing like what it looked like when they found the site, the burial site. Beautiful pottery. Lots of little potsherds there, maybe. And what do you think these are? Do you think they're decorations for horses? I'm not sure, but they are really pretty. They look like really elaborate earrings. Got all these like carvings into the rocks, you think? Beautiful amber jewelry. And some flints there, little arrowheads maybe. That looks like a potty. That looks like a duck. There's the river nearby and the lush green farmland, which is pretty much what the entirety of this region looks like. I suppose we should check out Armavir because that's what the province is named after. All of the provinces are named after ancient sites So, there was an ancient Armavir, and there's got to be ruins somewhere, but I couldn't find it. But here's what the city looks like. Very blocky and planned out. An old chess board here. Chess is very, very important in Armenian culture, and it's kind of left over from Soviet times, but they're really into their chess. Big, beautiful flags there for Armenia. Very Soviet-looking memorial. That kind of Art Deco style that the Soviets have perfected. Ooh, someone needs to pick up their car. It's looking pretty sad. So yeah. Unfortunately, there's not much else to show you in this region. It's all very beautiful and nice. Look at the pomegranates. I love pomegranates. But, yeah. It's mostly just farms. Look at all these farms here. My goodness. It's very lush and green. But it doesn't make for very exciting pictures, so I think that's all that I needed to show you. I mean, you can see the airport. Let's see. Arshpad. And there's Zvartnots International. Why don't we look at the slideshow? I don't think I looked at the slideshow. I'll close it out here. Looking at the International Airport of Armenia. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. You know what's weird is that all the places we're visiting this week are on the outskirts of that country's capital city. So we have Armavir, just outside of Yerevan. And next we're going to be going to the Marshall Islands. We're going to be going, obviously since it's islands, we're going to the nearest island to the capital city island. But if you know the Marshall Islands, they don't necessarily have islands, they have atolls. So if you don't know what an atoll is, or you want to explore what that atoll looks like, you gotta subscribe so you won't miss out. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good night. Good night.